Welcome to the Kingspiration Podcast. This is the place where you'll learn how to get unstuck and gain momentum in your life and business. Each week, we tackle the real aspects of entrepreneurship, personal development, relationships, and fitness. I'm your co-host, Ethan King, from Atlanta, Georgia, USA, entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of Wealth Beyond Money.
And I'm your co-host, Justin King, no relation to Ethan, from Cape Town, South Africa, entrepreneur, speaker, and business growth strategist. Our journey crosses continents and cultures, sharing wisdom and experiences to propel you forward. Welcome to Kingspiration. Let's start the conversation.
What's up, man? You were telling me about your weekend. What'd you get into?
Yeah, this weekend was very interesting. I went to a men's retreat called Rise and Thrive, which was out in the mountains in Franschhoek at a beautiful little retreat. Let's call it a retreat resort. I mean, it's specifically set up for retreats. And yeah, I think I'm still processing it. I got home yesterday from the retreat, and it's I don't want to use the word transformational because I'll reluctantly use that. I think there's a lot of processing that needs to be done, but it was enlightening, and it was just an incredible experience.
Now, where is that, near Cape Town? Yeah,
so Franschhoek is the really well-known wine region in South Africa, which is 45 minutes to an hour's drive from Cape Town. So beautiful area. But we had incredible storm that hit the Western Cape about 2 weeks ago now. And we had some serious flooding and severe damage. And Franschhoek was one of those areas that was really badly hit. So driving through the town, there was a lot of damage that I saw, and we actually weren't too sure whether the retreat was going to go ahead, because they were without electricity for about 6 days, and they were landlocked because there were certain roads closed. So that was interesting, all in the build up, and seeing some of that devastation. Going to this weekend that was all about contemplation and reflection and looking internally, and I suppose looking for your own wounding in a way, and seeing a lot of the wounding in the environment around. I mean, you look up at the sides of the mountains, and a lot of the damage was caused by a lot of landslides. So looking at we were in a valley, and you look at the sides of these mountains, and there were these big scars from the storm, where mud and just rock had just rolled down the side of the hill and taken out properties and destroyed roads and just trees that had fallen down. So that was quite interesting, heading out to this weekend. And then it was 3 nights and 12 other men.
Nice.
All of us not knowing one another. I knew one other person that was there. Yeah, and it was just an opportunity to be vulnerable and be one's authentic self in a space of no judgment. Everybody being there for a reason, everyone's reason being different, everyone looking for something, looking for answers for certain things. Some of us, I suppose, going in with more pressure and really wanting to have that big moment, that epiphany, than some others. And the weekend, just this process just unfolded, and it was an amazing facilitator. Is that the right? He facilitated the weekend. I don't know whether facilitator is the right word, really, but his name is Volker Schleckwein, and he was incredible. He held the space for all of us. It was his weekend that he organized, and
when I was out there, when I was in South Africa, in Cape Town earlier this year, we drove out to wine country, and I think I remember the mountains you're talking about, because you can see the visible kind of scar going down the mountain.
Yeah.
And, I imagine what a great metaphor for our lives, right? You have this beautiful thing, but there's, I guess all of us have these scars from whether they're visible physically or emotional or both. We all have them, right? But it adds to the beauty and uniqueness, right?
It does, and I spent some of the time, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about the weekend, but I spent some of the time actually up in the mountains itself. And again, once you, and to your point now of it being this amazing metaphor, once you're even closer and you into it, everything just starts opening up to you, and there are more scars, and there's I mean, the deeper you go into it, into the ravines, you see where the water has come down, and certain things got washed away, and where the trees have fallen over, and you don't see that from way back. You don't see that when you're just looking up at the mountains. You only see the really big ones. And again, I think that's as you're going the introspection, and as you go deeper into yourself, you get to see you climbing that mountain of yourself, and you get to see all those little things that really do make you, the things that make those mountains absolutely unique. The beauty as well as some of the destruction that might have happened. You can't see all the little rivers and the streams and the wildlife and the beautiful flowers and the peace and the serenity when you're up there. So yeah, it was pretty magical. I described it as a beautiful weekend, and I'm not the kind of individual that usually describes things as beautiful. I struggle to kind of really get deep in touch with my emotions, but it was it's left me feeling more open. It really has. Yeah.
Well, if there were, I know a lot of times these type of retreats can be very deeply personal and introspective and highly emotional. But were there any, like, if you had to think of 3 tangible takeaways that you wanted to share with our listeners, is there anything that you could say to them, that, like, your takeaways from this particular retreat?
I think number one is be open to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people will think about doing something of this nature, but they won't commit to it. And in particular, this weekend, it involved conscious breathwork, which is incredible, and I can speak a little bit more about that. And it also involved some plant medicine. So we also used San Pedro. So San Pedro is essentially a psychedelic, but from a cactus plant. It grows not from South Africa; it's from South America. It grows high up in the mountains.
Yeah.
So yeah, and which was my first experience with anything that like that, any kind of plant medicine, and any really deep breath work, and that was coupled. It was really set up nicely. So the Thursday night, we all got there on the Thursday, and that was just getting to know each other, beautiful dinner together, just having a wonderful conversation, early night. And then a good start in the morning, and we all did an Enneagram profile of ourselves. Some of us had obviously done it before, and others hadn't. And that was really interesting for everyone to start understanding a little bit more about themselves. And we went quite deep into, once you understand yourself, what are the shadow parts of yourself. So we didn't really focus on all the good things. We focused more on the shadow stuff. What are the shadow elements? I'm a equal 6 and 3, and 9. So 6 and 3 being 6 being a loyalist, a 3 being an achiever, and then a 9 being a peacemaker, really a peacekeeper, wanting just everything to be pretty okay and pretty good. So I'm very evenly, and it was quite interesting going through that again. I can see the elements, each of those elements coming through very strongly, particularly between the 6 and the 3, which are my 2 dominants. And as I say, I scored equally on those. The achiever in particular is one of those things. And again, I go to the mountain with this. The achiever is one of those things that never lets you just be okay with where you're at. You've always, okay, well, what's next? And how do I go a little bit higher? And it was like that when I went up the mountain. I was like, okay, well, Justin, you can't stop here. Somebody might have gone higher than you. You've got to go to the next little outlook and the next rock and the next thing. So, and then once I was up there, I suddenly thought, okay, this is quite an indication of your life. You're just trying to go higher all the time. Are you running away from something? Because I think back down there is where the work is that has to be done. It actually forced me to go back down to it. But yeah, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So it was really good going through the Enneagram, and that was a big setup to the day, and then we did some breath work, that's conscious breath work in the afternoon, which is amazing. That's 60 minutes of pretty intense breathing that alters I don't want to say it alters the state of your mind, but it allows you to go pretty deep into yourself.
Yeah, that can
Um,
itself almost feel like a psychedelic experience if done correctly.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that for me was incredible. I'm very much struggle to let go and really hand over control to whatever it may be. So I got into it, but I didn't go all the way with the breath work. I struggled to really just let go,
Mm-hmm.
but came out really with a good understanding of a few things. I went into this weekend looking. My two things. My intention for the weekend was trying to find a feeling of ease and a feeling of calm.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what I could come out of the weekend with, I would have been really really happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that first day on the Friday was amazing, and then the Saturday was our San Pedro journey. And that San
Nice,
Pedro
nice.
lasts for about 8 hours, so it really is a full day
That's
journey.
long. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, from what I've heard, is San Pedro referred to as the grandfather, and
Yes.
ayahuasca is the grandmother? So they're related in a
Yeah,
sense.
I'm not too sure about what ayahuasca is referred to, but San Pedro is absolutely the grandfather. So it's a little bit of an easier entry into this realm of psychedelics, and
Mm.
it works very much internally. It's not as everyone's reaction to it is different, or reaction. Well, I suppose we can call it a reaction, and what they feel and what they see, and that's quite different. But it doesn't necessarily give you the hallucinations that some of these psilocybin, so mushrooms, or even though ayahuasca may give you.
Mm.
So it's a little bit more of an easy entry. But man, I just had the most blissful day on that. The
Mm.
feeling of ease and calm that I had that entire day is something that I'm really really holding on to massively, massively. Just the I was just so connected with everyone around me. I was so connected with nature. Um, I don't want to say everything. When I say things were speaking to me, I don't mean things were actually like speaking to me, as in saying words. But
Yeah.
I just I felt connected to the mountain. I felt connected to the plants. I felt connected to nature. I
Yeah.
felt like everything wanted to embrace me. Literally, I
Mm.
felt like everything just wanted to hug me.
Mm.
So that was pretty special and pretty amazing. And as I say, the big theme that came out for all of the men that were on this weekend together was just to be present in the moment. And we spent about 3 hours just lying on this big open grass patch in the sun. And had been raining in the morning, and the sun came out, and we were just lying and sitting on this grass patch, just connecting with one another, just chatting and just laughing and
Mm.
enjoying each other's company. And a lot of us had come there with stress and anxiety and worries and these wounds that we were wanting to go deeper into, to really understand ourselves. And we just
Mm.
forgot about all of that for the time being, and just enjoyed being. And that was a big part of it, is we're always on the go and doing, and we called
Mm.
human beings for a reason, and we were just being in
Mm.
that moment. And
Mm.
that was very very special. And yeah, again, something that I'm trying to hold on to.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and that afternoon we did breath work again while we were still on this San Pedro journey, which allows you to almost go, well, not almost, it definitely allows you to go a layer deeper.
Ah.
And
Okay.
yeah, and
Did you all do
that's
the San Pedro more than once?
it's a good question. So you take the San Pedro and you wait about an hour to see what the effects are going to be for you. Again, everybody handles it differently.
Mm-hmm.
You start feeling it about an hour into it, and then you gauge whether you want to have a top up or not, a little bit more. So
Mm-hmm.
I actually ended up having three or two additional top ups after the first. So I had three doses, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which really got me into a good place. After the first two doses, I decided I just had something that was calling me to go up this mountain. And I
Mm.
went up the mountain, and it was raining up there, and it was wild, and it was misty. And that's when I realized this is interesting. I'm going higher and trying to run away from something, just keeping busy. And I stopped and I
Mm.
just took it all in and was like, okay, Justin, it's time to go back down and face life to a degree.
Mm.
That's where the work has to be done. And really took a slow journey back down, and I appreciated everything, and I stopped, and I really felt nature, and I looked at all the streams and the waterfalls that were there, and I kept taking in the amazing beauty and the view, and I was looking at the scars. And what was amazing about this mist and this rain, the clouds that kept rolling, is that the mountains would be hidden for a second, and then the mist would clear, and they would just reveal themselves, and they would just unbelievably crystal clear and beautiful and perfect. And again, I was just thinking, jeepers, okay, if I just slow down in my life, I mean, when we just going, you don't even take note of it. It's like we've got these clouds and this mist that are always just there. But as soon as you slow down and you're in the moment, everything can often clear up for you, and you truly understand how beautiful those moments are.
Yeah.
So that was pretty profound. Didn't necessarily realize it in the moment, but I think afterwards, had a beautiful walk back down. And then just wonderful time of connection.
I'm trying to follow. So you took the 3 doses. Are you all? I didn't realize whether you were saying this metaphorically or actually. Were you going up the mountain as you took the doses? Or?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm all over the show. So the retreat itself, there's the central communal area where we did a lot of the connecting and our sessions together, and that's where we took the San Pedro. And then you have time to just explore. I mean, the grounds are unbelievably beautiful. So there's big gardens, there's a beautiful dam. It borders onto the mountains. So you could then choose what you wanted to do in this time that you had in between having it in the morning, getting together for some lunch at a later stage. And I chose to take it and then actually physically go up the mountain and go exploring.
Wow.
So,
okay. Were you by yourself?
I was by myself.
Oh, okay. So it's safe enough for you to physically, walk around. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not anything that makes you lose control, or you're still very much present in the moment. So I mean, I clearly remember everything, and what I loved about it is it allowed you to actually tap into the present moment. I could have a conversation with you like I'm having now, or decide, okay, I want to go back into this again. And then you could just go spend some time on your own, go for a walk, examine what it is that you wanted to, and things would reveal themselves. I spent some time looking at myself in the mirror. And that was a very interesting experience. So
okay, literally looking at yourself in the mirr? Or
literally looking at myself in the mirror.
All right.
So it's the best way I can describe it, and again, it impacts everybody differently. For me, the best way I can describe it is if I stood in front of something, those 3D puzzles that used to be in magazines that you used to kind of look at and squint a little bit, and then an image would pop out. Whatever I looked at, if I just looked at it for a few seconds, something would come out of it. So it would start moving. It would start, and as I said, everything felt like very often like things were trying to embrace me. So it was always like a beautiful face would appear, or plants felt like they had arms and they were extending those, and things were just moving in this most magical way. So that's what I experienced. But it wasn't as though I was walking around tripping and seeing aliens and spaceships and not able to communicate with anyone. So I wanted to take that, see how that translated into actually physically looking at myself in the mirror. And I suppose the best way I can describe this is I don't necessarily have a healthy relationship with time. I always feel that I've got to be busy, rushing. And if I'm not rushing, then I'm not making the most of the time that's available. And it's a paradox in itself, because when you're rushing like that, you generally actually don't get as much done as you would like to.
Right.
And if you live your life like that, and you live your life like that long enough, life starts to pass you by. You say no to a lot more than you say yes to. That's because I find easy excuses to say, oh, I'm just too busy. I haven't got enough time. It's always this feeling of not having enough time. And that kind of revealed itself to me when I looked at myself in the mirror. So I looked at myself in the mirror, and I just looked old, man. I just looked old, and I mean, I'm almost 40. So I just, all the wrinkles on my face just stood out to me. And as I was looking to myself, I got older and older and older and older and older and older, and eventually just kind of turned into dust. And it was quite a profound moment in that you can generally, if you keep living your life like you have been, you can blink and it can be gone. Yeah. It can be over. So I walked away from that that experience just really open to the idea of needing to make some changes with this relationship with time and slowing my life down to a degree, experiencing things more, saying yes to more moments of connection with people. Otherwise I'm going to be that man in the mirror that just becomes old overnight, old in a few seconds, and just disappears. So that was that was quite a thing. But all in all, sorry, I could speak about this for hours, but all in all, like it was just a beautiful experience. It was really just a blissful experience. I said my intention was ease and calm, but it was just such a day of absolute ease, absolute calm, and that was with everyone there, and just such connection. So it was, and everybody found different truths. Some people had moments of absolute clarity. Some people had profound intellectual insights and not so much the external stimulation that I may have had. So everybody's experience was very, very different, but no less impactful for them. As you say, it's the grandfather. So the grandfather knows what you need at the time.
Right.
And sometimes that's hard.
Yeah. What did you say?
I'd say sometimes that can be a hard lesson for some people. Other times it's just you need love. You need whatever it may be, but it presents that opportunity to you if you're open to it.
Yeah. Well, interesting that a few of the words that you said there all kind of lend to clarity. And whenever we go on these retreats, I go on retreats with my mastermind groups and EO and stuff like that. And I always try to set the intention at the beginning of the retreat and say, what do you hope to get out of this? And everyone's answer really relates to clarity. We're all searching for clarity in our lives, clarity on the path forward. And it's interesting that San Pedro was called the grandfather. And then when you looked in the mirror, you saw yourself getting older. So in a sense, it's almost like you gained wisdom from the grandfather version of you, right? Do you feel that way? Like you got some clarity or something, or was it just the fear?
I think I absolutely gained some wisdom. But the interesting thing about wisdom, or the interesting thing about any lessons, is that you've still got to apply it. So I think that's a lot of the time is we can go into these things, and I'm guilty of it. Like a lot of the things that I unpacked throughout the weekend, I kept saying to myself, but fuck, Justin, you know this already. You know this about yourself. Like it keeps coming up, but you do know it. And then, I mean, obviously the journey ones with the San Pedro was amazing. But I think what that wisdom is telling me is, like, you've also, and that's why going up the mountain was such a big thing. And then realizing, well, you've got to get down and to do the work. It was like, all of these things. And then the wise grandfather was telling me, this is what you're going to end up like unless you start doing the work. And that's nobody else can do it for you. This retreat was never going to, it can help you provide moments of clarity, but it wasn't, and I really don't want to use the word fix, but I'm going to use it just for absolute simplicity. Like the weekend isn't going to go and fix your shit. Like it can absolutely give you the lessons, it can give you the wisdom, it can give you the clarity, but you come back and the work then starts, and that's on you. That's on me. So I think I've been guilty at times of always wanting these, I'm going to have this lightning bolt moment of just absolute clarity, and that clarity is going to change my life. That clarity is telling you what to start working on. I'm still the one that's got to go and change my life. So I think that's always a big lesson to take out of it.
Well, as they say, death is the great impetus, right? So if you want to be sparked into action, there's nothing like being reminded that I am going to die. and
Yeah.
it's going to come quickly. I think even in Steve Jobs' famous commencement speech, he talked a lot about that. Obviously, as he was facing his own mortality with pancreatic cancer, but that was the impetus for him to get these things out into the world because he knew his time was very short. And if you think about it, and it sounds like this was the big aha for you. It's like all of our time is very short here, and it's time to do the work. It's time to take action and get on it. So you have the clarity piece of it on, okay, what to do. And hopefully it sounds like you gained some insights in that regard. And so did some of the other guys on your trip. But then it's also like, okay, now you need to actually do it and do it quickly. That's powerful.
Yeah. So my commitment after the weekend was to outline what does my fun life look like. That's what came to me as my first step on this journey, and that's almost a way for me to slow down and start doing more of the things that just keep you present, give you joy in the moment. So what does my fun life look like? So I've started journaling, which is a really big struggle for me, but started journaling and working through what this fun life and these fun elements that I want to start bringing into my life look like. And I think fun and laughter will keep you a little bit younger. So I'm going to try to keep that old man that I saw in the mirror. And I definitely don't age like fine wine. I realized that when I saw that happening. So I want to prevent that. Need to prevent that from happening. But it's about coming back, starting doing the work, keeping doing the work, and it's interesting. The other massive, if I share, the other big thing that came out for me, I've always had this line that I've said, I don't want to live an ordinary life. I think I think I might have even mentioned it previously in one of our other episodes, another discussion that we had. But I've been so fixated on this not living an ordinary life that the reality and what I realized is I've been living an ordinary life. And that, I suppose, that was a bit of a lightning bolt moment for me to say, okay, I mean, there's a paradox to that, but if you can't define this and you're not working towards something, you're not slowing down, you're not enjoying your life in every moment and everything that you, obviously there are always going to be tough times and there are going to be certain things that you do that you're not going to love, but you've got to build that in more to your life, and that'll help me live this non-ordinary life that I'm striving so hard to work for or to achieve or live. But by being fixated on not wanting something, I actually got it, which was very interesting for me. So
what makes a life extraordinary?
Well, I think it's very different for everybody. And a big part of the problem and what kept me trapped was I never ever defined it. I just kind of used it as an excuse. I've used it as an excuse to convince myself that the amount of things that I was sacrificing in my personal life to always be achieving and trying to strive for more was warranted. Because Justin, that's what you've got to do to achieve this non-ordinary life or this extraordinary life that you're wanting to. You've got to sacrifice all these things, and whether that's time with friends or whether it was relationships, whatever it may have been, it kind of made sense because if you're sacrificing that, it's because you're working towards. But I never defined it, and it was just an excuse to be able to say, well, you're sacrificing these things. You don't want to face the ugly truth that you are sacrificing them, but you're actually unsure what you're sacrificing them for. So that was quite a big moment of, I suppose, clarity is a good word for that as well. To just be cautious that we speak about things, but are you clear on what they actually mean?
Right.
I want a life of freedom. Okay, well, what does that look like? You know what I mean?
People say freedom, but it's freedom to do what? What are you going to do with that freedom once you get it?
And you ask them that question, and then people are like,
whatever I want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
exactly.
That's the big argument. Like you should, my thought is that you should have an idea of what you really want to achieve and then work for that freedom so that it can free you up to pursue that thing. And that not just, career wise or business wise, but fun. Fun is so important. I mean, you're so right. Fun, laughter, It does keep you young. And I believe that wholeheartedly. But let me
Yeah.
tell you, you are living an extraordinary life, my friend, and it's only going to get more extraordinary.
No,
So
I
I think
appreciate that.
you and I could talk for hours about any
Yeah.
subject. So in the spirit of keeping this episodic for this particular topic, is there anything you want to close us out with? Any final thoughts about your amazing, adventurous weekend?
Yeah. I mean, I think I've shared quite a lot. The one line that kept coming up in my head though, and we've spoken about it before, and again is it's that it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war, and that actually kept playing through my mind over the weekend. And I realized that, and again, it doesn't have to be a warrior in the physical sense of being able to fight or anything of that nature, but I just want to become this emotional warrior right now. That's clear and has clarity, and I basically want to go to war for myself to achieve what I'm really wanting to achieve. And I don't want to be that gardener in the war, which I feel like I have been to a degree. This war has been going on around me, and I've just hidden away from it because I wasn't prepared. I didn't have the tools. I didn't want to face it, so I kind of was hiding behind the garden wall because there was a war going on inside it. So that was interesting for me. That definitely came up quite a lot. So I'll go back to that. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Yeah, what a powerful quote and a great way to end it. All right, well, that's it for this episode. We'll see you guys on the next one.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Kingspiration. We hope this conversation sparked insights to ignite action in your life and business.
We're on this journey together, sharing our challenges and successes to help all of us take the next step towards building momentum and ultimately reaching our goals.
If you found value in today's episode, please share it with someone else who might benefit and leave us a 5-star review.
And remember to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on our weekly conversations. Until next time, keep rolling, keep growing, and keep being inspired.